All right. You guys checking in Sunday night. Glad to be here with all y'all. I'm Chris with Cycle Source Magazine. This is Shop Talk, going live in just 2 minutes. Good to see all you guys here. Everybody from Choppertown, everybody from the Cycle Source Network. Mr. Rob Nussbaum in the house. Michael Bernhardt. Steve Broyles, Detroit, Michigan. Right on. Good to see you here, brother. Amy McMullen, good to see you. William Cole. Remember to hit the like and share button so everybody knows when we go live with this programming. Trying to keep the COVID blues away for over 6 months now. From the Cycle Source headquarters, 50 floors below the street level here in the Dennis Kirk Motorcycle Studio. Just about a minute and a half left. 3 guys from Medford, Tony, Nick, and Muzzy. Once racing gets in your blood, it never goes away. Let's get this show in gear. It's going to be a great show for race fans tonight. Big news in the world. Our resident race reporter, Mr. Tyler Porter, is coming in to talk that over with you. And we got some shop stuff tonight. Going to be an awesome show. Just a minute out. Stick around. Grab something to drink. We're going live with Shop Talk. 1 minute. Jamie Roberts, I got to give you a special shout out for that. Hello from Bucyrus, Mo, where the men are men and the cows are afraid. Been there many times, my man. Greg White in the house. Gus, my man. Good to see you here, buddy. Shop Talk 30 seconds away. We started with a kind of weird clock tonight, so I don't know. I guess we could cut this one short. Get this thing out of the station, up on the tracks. Go live with another episode of Shop Talk. Here we go. Okay, scooter tramps and chopper jockeys. It's just after 9 p.m. on Sunday, and that means it's time for another episode of Shop Talk. We got some gremlins in the studio tonight, but hopefully it's not going to be too bad. We're trying to do some new stuff, and I think maybe we pushed the boundaries on the equipment again, but moving on, no big deal. Shop Talk coming to you live from the Dennis Kirk Motorcycle Studio. Good to be here with you guys again. I'm going to bring in the crew, see what everybody's up to this week. How's everybody doing?
Hey.
Gonna be a good show.
Oh boy.
I think some of our gremlins might be Mother Nature. The wind's whipping and howling out there in western Pennsylvania. So hopefully she's kind to us over the next 90 minutes and we can get through this program.
And boy, I'll tell you what, like if you guys are getting your fall riding in, God bless you for doing it. Randy Wagner in here from New Kensington, good to see you. If you're getting your fall riding in, good for you, because that like every 3 days there's a 70 or 80 degree day here in the Northeast, and then it turns to shit again. And man, it's going to happen quick.
When I was in New Hampshire, we had snow on Friday, and Saturday through the time I left, it was in the 70s every day.
Mark, you're in touch with it.
We're known for having all 3 or 4 seasons in one day around here. It's pretty normal for us. So I like it. I like them all. So I'll take them all.
So nevertheless, that means with the onset of the cold weather, it means we're headed back to winter. And the good thing about winter is it gives us time to get into the shop. We got some great stuff coming up for you for shop stuff tonight, and throughout the rest of the winter, we got some great segments planned. It'll be awesome. In addition,
you're just excited because you got new tools.
Oh, but if we lost Hell Omega Tour and gained this freaking lathe.
Hell Omega Tour.
If I hear one more thing about this lathe, I might just light the garage on fire. You know what I mean?
Oh, please don't.
Sweet Jesus.
It's awesome. Listen, hey, I think inside of every garage guy is the aspiration to have, a lathe and a mill and like make stuff, and it's exciting, man. It's an exciting thing, but I can be a little much when I get excited, so I get it.
No, it's great because you get excited just like, and excuse me, a little kid with a new toy. You're like, honey, look what this does. Look what this does. Did you see this? Did you see how this works? I'm like, uh-huh.
That's my reply too.
I love that I have these buttons.
That's exactly what we're thinking. So you're pushing the buttons we're thinking.
Right on. So big news this week, and this is something we're going to get to in the second hour of the show, but Harley Davidson and Vance and Hines, respectively, in independent press releases over the last week, announced that they're seeing the end of the relationship between Vance and Hines and Harley Davidson for racing. Additionally, Harley Davidson is no longer going to field factory race teams. Instead, they're going to move to a program where they support dealer level race programs. It's pretty big news. I mean, as much as both sides are trying to make it sound positive, it's definitely indicative of a place where we're at. But man, that's going to affect drag racing and flat track racing like crazy.
Well, hopefully it'll bring some of them small drag racers back out, which would be great. Give the little guy a shot again. But yeah, that's sort of a crunch for the big race teams.
And you would hope that that's what it does. But see, like, and we'll wait to get into this. I'm not even going to say any more about it because Tyler's gone to school on this for the show tonight. He's got some great information. So if you're looking for some answers to this stuff, stick around for that. In the meantime, this is Shop Talk, like I said. 90 to 120 minutes of all the bullshit we can fit every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Little news, we bring on a guest or two, have some information, yuck, hee. We start the whole thing off with the national news. Why are you laughing at me, man? Why are you doing that? Go ahead.
Me?
Go ahead, Heather. Read the news. Go ahead.
Why? Well, why shouldn't I laugh at you? Come on now. Do we want to start with Komodo or Buffalo Chip? What do we want to start with?
Start with Komodo while I get my shit together and bring the screen up. Right?
So, there you go. So Komodo Holdings, for those of you who don't know, they currently own Revzilla and Cycle Gear, and they just bought out JP Cycles. They also just acquired Rever, which is a Colorado-based technology company that connects the global community of power sports. So basically, Komodo is buying up pretty much anything motorcycle that they can. I mean, that's just basically, to sum it up. I'm going to throw a link to the whole news article in because you don't really want to hear me read it. But they really are trying to buy up the moto world. Or at least that's what it feels like to a layperson such as myself. They're just grabbing whatever they can.
Wonder what the catch is.
Right. Well,
catch.
Well, and it says that they're going to remain their own entity within Komodo. So a lot of the employees will stay, but they'll kind of assimilate to how Komodo does business.
That's a wonderful word, assimilate. I like that.
You like that one?
That was great.
Man, I'll tell you what. Tonight is just a night of nights.
Yeah, I like the way she throws some words out there, makes you think. I like that.
You like that? So,
awesome.
So that's the first one. Second one up is Sturgis Buffalo Chip. I'm not sure how many of you know, but they've been fighting for a few years now to be recognized as their own town because it is a huge property. People do live there year round. Unfortunately, once again, the Supreme Court struck it down because, and again, I'm going to sum it up. They think most people are lying, that 100 people don't actually live there. And that's the minimum requirement. Again, that's a brief summation, but unfortunately, our friends at the Buffalo Chip did not get to be an official town in the state of South Dakota. I imagine they'll continue fighting it, but we'll have to stay tuned and see.
I gotta say, I really hope that they do. Because
why wouldn't they let them? I mean, at this point.
Well, you gotta imagine the tax revenue is first and foremost at the top of that list.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the city of Sturgis
is the one. Yeah, the city of Sturgis is the one fighting it the hardest because they are going to take a huge hit on revenue if Buffalo Chip becomes the town of Buffalo Chip. The city of Sturgis stands to lose a tremendous amount of money. So, for them, it's worth fighting for.
Yeah.
No, maybe they need to up their game for the rally.
That's right. Everybody's been saying that for years.
Yep.
So here, let me go through the screen since I finally got my poop in a group. That was the Komodo Holdings. This is the Buffalo Chip story.
Catch up.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, Chris, what's going on tonight?
I love that I'm on top of it tonight. It's instead of me going crickets.
Next up in the news, Harley-Davidson, and this comes in from Auto Evolution. Harley-Davidson dealers looking to sue bike maker over major move this year. It's been a rough year for the world's most prominent motorcycle brand, Harley-Davidson, as nothing seems to have been right over the past few months. Product-wise, the launch of Livewire is yet to yield the desired results, while at a corporate level, the struggles have been immense. Harley's 2020 problems did not, of course, start this year, but are the culmination of decades of poor choices that back March 2020 led to the ousting of the company's CEO, Matt Levitech, and in September, to perhaps an even more shocking announcement, the retirement from the Indian market. The gist of this story is, as Harley, after a decade of going to bat and trying to bring motorcycles out in the Indian market, which, if you don't know, millions of motorcycles are sold in India every year. But right here you can see, after a decade of sales, Harley-Davidson was only responsible for 25,000 units there. It's believed that that's because they're just not selling the smaller CC, smaller displacement motorcycles that Indian consumers are looking for. And they've decided to pull out of the market, much to the chagrin of the dealer network they started to develop in India, who are now seeking compensation for the money that they're going to be out with Harley-Davidson, leaving them without a choice for their business platform. So that's going to be a rough one.
And that's strange. There's a big culture for V-twins there, like especially older. I mean, don't some of the private parts makers really sell a lot of parts in India?
Well, and this is, you got to remember, though, on a factory level, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean? I'm saying, but are they not selling new bikes yet? Old bikes and parts are kicking it there, and I mean, I wonder what the demographic on that is.
I think also India's demographic is mostly like Harley Davidsons are for the super rich over there.
Yeah.
Just like they are, in the Asia and China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam. Those are for the really wealthy people. And I think in India you see most people on scooters and the smaller Royal Enfields and the smaller Triumphs.
Oh, but in India, Heather, I don't know if it has as much to do with economics in India, because India has a really, really strong economic situation. Yeah. What it has to do most with, I believe, is that in India they look at the motorcycle much more as a utilitarian purpose.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, like, when you have the proposition of something that's quick, cheap to maintain, easy to zip through, the traffic. Like if you see any of the traffic pictures over there, they're awesome. It's insane.
Well, Chris, think about even when we were lucky enough to spend those few brief days in Italy. Motorcycles are huge over there. However, we saw very few Harley Davidsons.
Yep.
Yeah.
We saw the smaller, quick, nimble.
Ciao.
Yeah, exactly. You saw, the ratio was 10-1, if not greater.
Right on. Well, let's move on with some more news. Chris Farley, you guys will know him as Tommy Boy. His Harley Davidson motorcycle is up for auction. This coming in from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. The late, great Chris Farley never actually owned a van down by the river, but Farley did have a Harley. Farley had a Harley. Harley, the Harley owned by Farley. Farley's Harley. And I'm reading the news, damn it.
I don't know, but Farley had a Harley's pretty good.
Wait a minute. All this time you want me to be Robin, whatever her name is.
Quivers.
I still don't really know. I have a quick synopsis of this article.
Oh, boy.
Because I actually read it.
Go ahead.
She actually read this one.
That's awesome. And the ratings for the show just go in the toilet.
Oh, dude, they just went straight up. I don't know who you're kidding. Honesty is a bitch.
Well, so I'm the one that picks what news we do or don't talk about. So sometimes I pick them because, there's a funny snippet in here. The Harley, which is a Sportster 1200, nothing fantabulous, is being auctioned off without its key. Because his brother, who owns it or is auctioning it off, says whoever's going to buy it has to actually ride it before they get the key. So they have to contact him, prove that they can ride it, and then he'll give them the key.
Oh, right on. So he's doing it so that it's not like a sweeper or somebody that's just going to sell the bike,
resell
right?
it.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
Farley
Good for him.
only rode it a few times around Chicago because he was terrified of it. So it's got no miles on it.
Oh my God. It just gets worse.
Hey, somebody's gonna get a good little Sportster
with no key.
All right, and
with no key.
like we said at the top of the show, one of the major stories that's coming out this week is Harley-Davidson racing efforts to refocus on dealers, competitive program. HD will support AFT Super Twins, Production Twins, and HRA Pro Stock competition. Harley-Davidson is hearkening back to the foundation of the company's competitive spirit by refocusing on building within the brand and celebrating the heritage of grassroots flat track racing by offering support to its entire dealer network through the development of contingency programs. The problem that I see with this, and we're gonna get to this in the next hour, is the fact that the dealer network is not the same as it once was. Back in the day when they're talking about hearkening back to the foundations of the company's competitive spirit, that was a day where the average dealer principal was themselves a through and through enthusiast. It was much less about the business of Harley Davidson than it was just guys who loved Harleys. So they were chomping at the bit to get out and race. I question, how much participation you're going to have at that. Of course, there will be some, and I'm not saying at all, racing is dead at the dealer principal level. It's just
not as prominent as it used to be.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's hard because the dealers right now, them individually, are struggling.
Yeah.
Every time you go on the news, you see another dealership closing. It's been hard on them, so to ask them to come out of pocket to continue this tradition, it's going to be a tall ask for a lot of the dealers because they're just getting by. I mean, I hope they do.
Well, I think too
I
that
think it's going to be tough.
this goes along with the news about Harley Davidson not renewing the contract for Vance and Hines race development. And when I said that this is indicative or a sign of the times, like Harley Davidson is across the board looking for places to make cuts, and save money and reallocate investment. And this is just another thing. The unfortunate part about that is this is also a time where core support could really use a shot in the arm. So I would hope that it works out like they're talking, that dealers pick up on this, and racing goes back to more of a grassroots kind of deal, because again, this is all stuff we're going to talk about in the next hour, but we sure do need those grassroots campaigns.
I absolutely agree. I think grassroots is where it's at. That's how you've been able to stay Cycle Source for 24 years. I'm curious though, do you think any of it has, and I don't mean this as a kick while they're down, but do you think any of it has to do with the fact that in racing, Harley Davidson just can't get to the top?
I'll bet a bit, yeah.
And that's the 900-pound gorilla in the room. That's the one thing, boy. And this, how many of us were saying right after King of the Baggers, like, oh my God, how much longer is this going to go on with Harley Davidson and Vance and Hines, and not being able to get ahead of the Indian, and shortly thereafter this announcement comes out. So
I'm taking my ball and I'm leaving.
Yeah, right. I think another factor here is that a lot of the dealers back then were like these little private owned dealers, and they used to love competing each other when it came to drag racing and flat tracking. And in the past 20 years, 15 years, that's gone away. I mean, the little race teams, and keep in mind, a lot of those dealers, the race bike and the drag bike and whatever they ran wasn't even a dealer-owned bike. It was a friend of the dealership, or somebody local that was a good racer, had a fast bike, and they promoted them and they pushed them and they helped them a little bit. Well, they said they helped them, but they put their name on their back pretty much. But I think that's what needs to come back.
Well, and Jason Holman is bringing up in the social media feed like Robinson's. And absolutely like Robinson's. Yep. What's out in Ohio? They were in land speed, flat track. Damn it, in Columbus.
Hold on, I know who you're talking about.
Can't even believe I forget that dealership. I mean, here in Pennsylvania, we had some of the oldest dealerships in the country. And like that was a very special time. And I can remember some of the guys around here telling stories about how, the one brother would tend bar at night, the one brother drove school bus in the daytime to keep the doors of the place open.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I would love to see the grassroots effort on dealer level. I'd like to see that more than some of their other directions that they're going. They're getting too far away from their core. Even at the dealer level too, like too many. Pig road. I'm trying to be gentle.
Don't do it. Let go.
You can say it like this: too many sales motivated in-house events. That are.
That was a very good way to put it.
And I also think that like back then, your local Harley dealership, like you supported them like that was your MC almost. You know what I mean? And nowadays, people run around more on the ground of looking for the better deal or the private owner or what they can get over compared to, that dealership that they tried and true. That's their dealership,
Jason's up there again, and he says the dealers provide the factory with feedback. Honestly, it's a good thing. And we're saying it could be a good thing. It could also be a shortage of real support and real presence when we need it a lot too. There's unarguably some great parts about it. Because it's gonna loosen things up a lot. Harley pushes a lot of weight around at the track, and to take some of that away from it too. And you guys that are out and racing, you know what I'm talking about. So, but we're gonna wait for Tyler to get in any more of that. I'll tell you what we're gonna do right now. I'm gonna remind you guys that this is Shop Talk, coming to you live, 50 floors beneath the street level at Cycle Source Magazine headquarters, the Dennis Kirk Motorcycle Studio. where we come to you live every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to take a real quick commercial break, and we're going to come back until Tyler comes on with us. We're going to come back with a little shop time with Dr. Stupidhead. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with you. Stick around.
I joined the military straight out of high school because I felt like I really needed some direction in my life. And what I got out of it was a sense of purpose and, more importantly, to be part of a brotherhood. I started riding when I was 21 on sport bikes like most of us do when we're 21 years old. Quickly, I transitioned into the love of a cruiser. My perfect ride would be with all my buddies with me, riding on the coast of the ocean. There's something amazing about having all your friends with you in the perfect scenery all at the same time. My bike is a 2015 Harley-Davidson Dyna Fat Bob. My favorite upgrades to it so far are my custom fairing and my 16-inch ape hanger handlebars. My name is Brandon LaBelle, and I'm a Dennis Kirk rider.
Xavier with Providence Cycle Works in Austin, Texas. Your host for the 2021 High Seas Rally, the only biker rally on a cruise ship. I'm super pumped and way excited to be on the ship this year. But what I'm most excited about is the custom bike that I'm building for one of you guys to win. You're automatically entered when you come on board with us. Let's get ready to rock. So right. Take it easy.
Hey, this is Chris with Cycle Source Magazine. I want to thank you for watching the flagship show of the Source Media Group, ShopTalk. We go live with ShopTalk every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but it's only one of the many programs we offer from Source Media. In addition to that, Wednesday nights we have a show, Cannonball Chronicles, that looks into the life and times of cannonball racers as they prepare for this year's Motorcycle Cannonball. Thursday night, we have Bike Night Live that goes into the bike night culture, the food, the fun, the hanging out with people, and we even have some live entertainment. Sunday morning, Cyber Swap Meets kick off, where we have a sort of home shopping network approach to motorcycle swap meets, and we bring guys on that have live parts to sell right there. All of this in addition to our staples, which are Grease and Gears TV, live on the street from the events and rallies, Grease and Gears Garage, Grease and Gears Garage Roadshow. We look forward to bringing more of this type of entertainment to you from the home of two-wheel entertainment, the Source Media Group.
Why are we playing the outro?
I don't know. So Chris is up in the shop, and I think he's ready to teach us a little something.
I am. You tell me when I'm on.
You are on.
All right, man. Hey, we noticed not too long ago that we call this program Shop Talk, and we talk a lot of shit, but we haven't always done a lot of shop stuff. So we're in the Grease and Gears Garage. We're going to be doing a lot of segments from here over the winter, and see how we do about, you know, keeping the shop part in Shop Talk. So you guys know that as far as tech stuff goes, as I learn stuff, I pass it along through the magazine. I bring it on the show. I do everything. So as Mark said, and this is totally going to piss him off, that we're going to talk about the lathe for this whole segment.
Stupid lathe.
But I've been in the shop working on figuring out the lathe, getting it tooled up, and the things that I'm learning, we're going to turn into a whole series to teach you guys, because I think in the back of every garage guy's mind, they want to get to the point where someday they have a lathe, they have a good bandsaw, they have a milling machine, and you can make stuff. But there's many, many things to learn along the way. We're going to do a lot of that work with you, teach you the stuff that we learn as we go through it. One of the first things you want to keep in mind is if you're saving up that $1,500 or $2,000 to get the lathe, that is only the first payment. You know, whether you get some of the tools, you're going to real quick, you're going to be invested another $1,000, you know, like that. It's going to be quick. Everything from the tool post to, you know, the tools that are going to fit in the tailstock. you're going to want to make sure that you have some money and you're ready to spend that before you get this thing. On the nice side, you know, once you get it tooled up, things that happen, you know, like on a Sunday, something happens like this and you end up with a ruined piece of hardware. Having a lathe and having this equipment, you can go right over to the machine, you know, get a similar piece of hardware, turn down the diameter of this so that it's ready to put threads on, and you can make your own piece of hardware in a pinch on a Sunday where you might not be able to buy a replacement piece. What I'm going to start with today, and I hope we still on the overhead camera?
Yep.
Okay, so what I'm going to start with today is the tool post. This is a quick change tool post, and I'm going to show you guys the difference between it and the kind that comes on most of this style lathe. So originally, this would have come with either this rocker style tool post or one of these things here. You know, nothing bad about this, but takes a lot of time to switch out between tools. Obviously a lot more with that one than it does with this one. This is on its way to being a quick change, but you have to buy a lot of stuff to make it that way. For me, I like to be able to get in and out of things quick. You know, the time that I have in the shop is kind of dear to me because it's so short. You know, not for production or anything, but I want to get into it quick. So this is from AccuSize. Good company, makes good tools for a fair price. What this is called, there's two different styles of a quick change tool post. This is a wedge style. They have another style that's called a cam style. I kind of like the wedge better. What this gives you the ability to do though is once you have your tooling set up, for every operation, whether it's, you know, a straight cut like this, if you're working into the left, if you're going to be doing knurling, you know, all of this stuff is on individual tool holders, and they on and off real quick, let you get into the work. I'm going to take 2 seconds here and teach you something that was taught to me by Mr. Will Ramsey, because one of the questions you'll get right off the bat is, okay, so how do you know how to set the depth for where this piece should be, where the actual tip of the tool should be? Machinist scale. I'm going to take this right up against my material, and if you guys, that was loud.
Or you can just drop
That'll
that
be
there.
down there.
If you guys can see, that's why I made this shelf. If you guys can see, this is perfectly up and down. That gives me the idea that that's going to be dead center into the middle of my material. So from there, if I was just setting this up, you know, I would want to take this and lock it into place right there. Or I'll tell you what, we can set another one up real quick.
Hey, Chris, William Lapine would like to come over and help you break it in. He said it looks too clean.
Yeah, absolutely, I know. Well, I got
He
this
wants
from
to
an
see
old
the
guy
centering tool.
that was a gunsmith, you know, and they're inherently clean and organized and stuff. We get one that's really out of whack.
And don't remember, just tell them after the first time you use it, it'll definitely not be
Oh, yeah.
clean anymore.
I'm
So
a sloppy shop guy. Mark can tell you all about it.
you can usually tell in my shop when I'm mad at Chris because he cleans something.
Okay, so you guys can see here how far out of line this is. It's way above the material. So all I'm going to do to get that is I'm going to move that down to where I think it's going to be centered. I'm going to bring my scale in. It's still off center. Keep bringing it down. Still off center. You know, and for a lot of the guys that are out there that have worked a lathe and stuff and worked in shops, this is going to be elementary information. And I know I'm not teaching you anything, but there's a lot of guys out there that want to start doing this stuff And believe it or not, it's not the kind of things that are in a lot of books. There's not a lot of YouTube videos about it. It's still kind of one of the last vestiges of find an old guy that can teach you some stuff, you know? So I'm gonna lock that in now.
Hey, Rob just reminded me that I have control over the sound effects.
You
Oh
do.
boy.
I do. Do I just push a button?
You do.
Push them all.
Okay. So with that locked in place now, the thing that's nice is every time I want to use this tool now, all I have to do is pull it off the rack up here. I know it's going to be in the right position. It's going to be dead center of the material. You know, and that's why you make the investment. You smart ass. That's why you make the investment in a tool like this, because at the end of the day, it saves you money.
Don't laugh, Heather. He's trying to be serious right now.
Oh, come on.
There's a bunch of things that you have to learn along the way. Like this is my chuck for the drill. Drilling, tapping,
Wait a minute,
everything
it's
that's
not
going to
going.
happen. But to get this to work with that, you have to know what Morris taper your tailstock has. We're going to go over a whole series to teach you, just in case you can't find it through the model number of your lathe. We'll teach you how to measure and identify your Morris taper. Let's go back to the overhead camera. See how that fits in. It's actually like an interference fit that brings that into the tailstock and lets you do that work. Bunch of other stuff we're going to go through with this thing, man. It'll be a great series by the end. Also over at the mill, let's move over to this for a second. I don't have a cameraman, so I'm going to do this manually.
Somebody wants to know what you plan on making the most with that lathe.
You know, honestly, there's a lot of stuff like basic spacers and bungs. You know, we do a lot of fabrication. A lot of this stuff like at the top of handlebars, or this would be the base of the handlebars. But these are quick pieces that you can make in a lathe. You know, real quick cut it off, thread it. You have a handful of these real quick.
There you go.
So over to the mill, we're actually getting ready to set up a phase converter to power this mill, because this is a 3-phase mill. John over at Hardtail Choppers hooked us up with the cool wrench, and I'm in the middle of making outriggers with leveling feet. So let's talk about leveling feet for a minute. This is one of the important things to do, whether it's the lathe, the mill, or even my bandsaw, is taking the time to level the machine and having vibration isolation. You can see what I did down here is I used a piece of 1x2 cold rolled steel. I tapped them so that I can connect to the machine here, and then outside of it I have some 8,000 pound leveling pads. Similarly, I've done the same kind of thing over with the lathe. You can see those at the bottom of the lathe, and you can see them over at my bandsaw.
I like Poppy's answer. Steve Broyles asked what you're going to make most with that lathe. It's money.
I hope
Right
so.
on.
So, Chris, when you're done with the segment, Tyler is in the waiting room.
Okay, awesome.
So you just let me know, and we'll go to a commercial break, and you can bring him in.
So there's a lot of other stuff. Like I said, this was just meant to be a real quick primer to get you guys started to the idea that we're going to be doing stuff in the shop. We're going to be teaching you little stuff as we learn it. You know, the simplest things about speed and feed. You know, teaching how to calculate a base parameter for the different types of metal, because speeds and feeds makes all the difference when you're doing work with this machine or the lathe or even the bandsaw. You know, so as we learn this stuff, we're going to pass it on to you, and should be a pretty cool winter here in the Grease and Gears garage. So look
Right
for
on.
more of that real soon.
All right, I'm going to go to commercial, but
while you make the transition down here, but I did want to just remind people in our latest issue of Cycle Source, Will Ramsey at Faith Forgotten did a great article on leveling your lathe.
Yep.
So.
And I used that when I put these pads on.
Awesome. All right, let's go to this commercial and you can come on back down.
See, that wasn't too painful, was it, Heather?
It's scary. Well, and in all fairness, you gave me like literally a 30-second crash course. Hit this button, don't touch that. Oh, and then he's gonna throw in like mute, unmute, this, that. I'm like, no. I need a day, not less than 5 minutes.
Hey, look.
I got to use a sound effect.
We've been working on Shop Talk for almost 5 years now. It's not like I gave you a 5-second crash course.
No, on engineering. But when we first started Shop Talk, it was Facebook screen sharing.
All right. Well, hey, listen. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we have a truly educated reporter that's going to come in and try to help make sense of all the Vance and Hines Harley Davidson news with us. So put your hands together for me. Welcome Tyler the Miler Porter, the editor of the InSlide Line. How you doing, Tyler?
Man, I'm doing great, you guys. Let's kind of walk it back on that truly informed thing. If you remember when you hit me up last night about even coming on and doing this, I was like, ugh, man, I need to talk to some people before I've got because there's so much rumors, there's so much just going back in text messages and this and that. Well, I think this, and I'm talking to this person and
Absolutely.
This and that. So I had to do some digging, and luckily the flat track world was very, very bored on a Saturday. So I was able to actually get some pretty good information and kind of wrap my head around that. And of course, I was listening to you guys earlier too, and you guys all made some really great points. About the whole reason you wanted me on here is talk about the Harley Davidson pulling back their factory team, and so I'll let you get it started, Chris, since this is your show. And what did we talk about yesterday?
Well, we talked about the fact that there's a lot of different sides to this, and the fact that this could be a good thing in many ways, but there's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of questions right off the bat, and it's really important for me to say from the beginning, when we talk about things, it's literally from the street level. Like, I have no real insight. I give my opinions about stuff, and that's why I asked somebody like Tyler to actually do some, do the responsible thing and go around and ask some questions. But from the layperson, from the people out in the street, it just looks like, Harley got tired of losing, and they're giving up, and they're going to walk away from racing.
Yeah, but the first question I have is, does Harley Davidson's racing, heritage, does it even matter? Does that matter to today's consumer? Does that matter to the person that's going to buy that bike? And, I go to races every year, Springfield being, the big one I go to, and you look through that parking lot and you look at the people wearing the clothes and, I'm here for Harley. And, since they moved to this XG platform and really struggled against the Indians, you go back a few years ago, and they're struggling against the Kawasaki's. When a Harley would take the lead, you just hear those stands erupt, and it made you feel good, and it made you feel proud about Harley racing. But when we really step back and we get out of our tiny little koi pond and we look at the Lake Michigan, does that really matter?
No, I agree. I agree with you.
Was this not actually a sound financial decision?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
From the financial end of things, it's absolutely sound. But
I don't want to sit here and bash the sport that's basically given me everything that I have now. But you got to look at it from an outsider's approach.
Yeah, but you're not bashing it. You're being honest. I mean,
yeah.
In all reality, it's about who you choose. Your team doesn't always have to be a winner. You just have to support your team.
Yeah, and with Harley saying like, "Hey, we're not getting out of racing. We're still going to support," and Vance and Hines kind of saying the same thing. Hey, we're still going to support. We're still going to be the official, manufacturer of the XG platforms, that kind of thing. That's all well and good. But like you guys touched on earlier about, they're saying, oh, this is going to go through the dealer networks. Well, the problem is you guys have sat there and watched it as one by one, these one owner dealerships have started to board up. They've started to sell out. And Harley, from friends of mine that have had franchises and things, they've told me Harley wants big owner groups. Yep. They want to talk to one guy that influences, 10 stores. And I'm going to tell you, I don't really know off the top of my head any of those owner group principals that give a crap about racing.
Nope. Yeah,
and that's what sucks, because that's where the money is. It's the guys like, God bless George Latus.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy, he's got
or
two
Rotor,
locations.
George Rotor.
Rotors.
Yeah.
God bless those guys for, Latus is kind of the only dealer really truly going racing, at this time. But like Mark said before you guys brought me on, it's not these dealers with in-house race departments. This isn't Robeson in Daytona going to the speedway and then having a machine shop out back.
Right.
This is, hey, we're getting our name on the leathers and here's some money.
Yeah. Which is cool, because I think that keeps the little guy in it. Like you said, now the dealers want the big conglomerates.
If it would, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the problem is, like, these dealerships who have historically really supported, a legit race team. You got American Harley Davidson up in New York. The owners of that dealership, their kids raced, and then they sponsored other racers. You got Mishler's Harley and BMW. They just announced they're closing forever. And, relatives of the Michelin, several people in the Mishler family, Steel Race, the Danimal, Dan Mishler, he's the hooligan champion in one of the series. And then it's just a struggle. The people that Harley put out in a press release saying, oh, no, racing will continue to go on. When you sit there and look at the dealership groups or the dealerships that actually sponsor racing, and then you walk it back, you see that there really is no connection there. No, and I don't see anybody, the big thing is these auto guys. These auto guys get into the Harley business. And the last thing they want to do, and I worked at a Harley dealership, and they weren't like automotive dealer guys, but their background was in cars. They're skimping money on like what brand of paper towels we have in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. There's no way they're going to be like, okay, hey, we're going to have a couple of mechanics, and we're going to have a couple of bays in the shop, and they're going to work on race bikes. I would love to see it happen. I don't see it happening.
And this is my biggest thing, because you touched on something. Yes, it's absolutely sound financial responsibility on Harley Davidson's part. But what about the other investment? Because this is a time when we're in the middle of this generational change, and for whatever reason, motorcycles is in one of the downturns right now. This is a time where it's important to continue to make those investments in not just to the core consumer, but to the core of the thing itself. And I think when I think about racing, drag racing, flat track racing, especially in a time where so many of the younger demographic are moving towards performance-based applications of these products, whether it's the stunt bikes, the FXR crowd, the performance bagger stuff. I think it's important for Harley Davidson to have a presence in all of that, and I think it's important for them from a leadership proposition to make sure that they're fostering that.
And another thing that we have to stem on, me and Chris have talked about here a couple times, and a lot of us have talked about, when it comes to racing, a lot of guys don't race the newest model. Try and go to a Harley dealership and buy a part for your Evo. Try and go to a Harley dealership and buy a part for any other model that's out there right now, otherwise it's something new. They don't exist. It's almost like they've given up on anything that they can't, Tyler, you said it before, make money on. The digits are all they're concerned about in all reality. And that pushes the little race guy, like what we raced growing up, that would have pushed us right out of the dealership,
Yeah. Yeah, and, we look at that kind of stuff, and what's funny is, like, I watch the flat track classified ads and stuff like that, and all the everybody. I love our flat track fans. Like I said, flat track's given me basically everything I have in my career, but man, these people are screaming, bring back the XR. That isn't the solution. The XR was already at the end of its development. And, you look at the XR could only beat a Kawasaki at certain kinds of racetracks.
Yeah.
And, and people look at that, and I'm like, guys, there are no Kawasaki's in the Super Twins class anymore. So you can't just bring back the XR.
Right.
There are no parts.
Right.
Main bearings for those things are going for insane amounts of money, and they were always expensive, but they're gone. So that's not the solution. And then you look at the XG platform, and Vance and Hines has made excellent strides with that. A few years ago, they made a new cylinder and cylinder head set up for the thing. But the big problem there is that, and the inside information I have is that they have been able, out of that XG, they've been able to basically make the same power curve as the Indians. But the thing with the Indian was that is a purpose-built motorcycle.
Here we go.
And the cases are made to house a ginormous set of flywheels.
Now this is where this thing gets a little bit interesting, because especially the Indian guys out there, they want to talk about Indian kicking Harley's ass no matter what they're doing. Yeah. And immediately you want to say, well, why doesn't Harley just, and this is what I said, I actually said it to you, and you schooled me on this a little bit. Why doesn't Harley just make a purpose-built motorcycle to go and get that ass, to go after it? But it was a little different than that, the way Indian kind of veiled their effort, right?
Right. From my understanding, and it's not like I'm on the rules committee. It's not like I work for Indian or Harley. I talk to a few people, and they'll kind of give me little snippets. And, you take that and you can kind of piece it together and get a fairly accurate, a puzzle, or for the shooters out there, you can kind of get a dope chart going on kind of where the spider web is. And so from my understanding, when Indian released the motor design to AFT for certification, their premise was, "Hey, we're going to run this. This is going to be a race-only motor for a few years, but we're going to use this in a platform." And that hasn't happened yet. Whereas this was all kind of a perfect storm, because the XR was getting tired. And the XG was seen as, hey, Harley said, hey, we're going to get away from race-only motors. We're going to race with what we sell. And so they put all their development money on that side of things, and then Indian just came in and basically clotheslined them, with this race-only purpose-built kind of deal. And AFT started to try to level the playing field, and I hate that. I don't like handicapping one. The first thing they did is say, hey, on the Indians, you can't change the flywheel weights. Like, you gotta just leave them the way they are. But like the cases on the XG 750 cannot handle any more flywheel weights. And that's what they were experimenting with, and they were having a lot of motor failures with, was they had the power. And I talked to some of the racers that were on the first few years of that platform, and they told me, they said, Tyler, these bikes they're plenty fast. They just don't put the power down the right way. Well, when they tried to add to the flywheels, then you were breaking cases. And in the production rules, you got to leave the cases the same. So that's, in my opinion, that's what we really need. We really need a rule change, not to handicap the Indians, because I don't think that's right. The Indians built a better mousetrap. Like, they should be rewarded for that. But to allow the other teams to catch up. And I think that Harley's going to have a new bottom end to give them any hope, in my opinion.
Now, well, one of our viewers here, Jason Holman, was making some comments before you came on about how this, getting the report from the dealers that are fielding these race efforts back to Harley, how this could all actually be a good thing. But, I immediately interjected the idea that it could be a good thing, but, without the kind of participation that, they're projecting there, it could fall well short.
Yeah, and what concerns me is, I'm sure Harley's new CEO, I'm sure he's a sharp guy. The board of directors would not approve him if he wasn't a sharp guy. But he comes from Puma,
Mr. Tennis Shoe.
Mr. Tennis Shoe.
Maybe he can run fast.
Yeah, and the marketing department. I know a few people in and out of the marketing department that are enthusiasts, but my big fear: you got a publicly traded company, you got a board of directors that has seen the boom, they've seen the huge amounts of money, and this isn't just Harley. This is our industry in general. The big players, the high-paying jobs, all that kind of stuff, they continually go outside the industry for a fresh idea. And Chris, your whole magazine is built around the enthusiast. And what I always say is this industry, and I work in this industry. So, I look at it like, yes, you have to have some kind of smarts about you, because at times things are hard to navigate. But this is an industry, in my opinion, if you're going to be truly successful, you have to lead with your heart and not always your head. Because some of the things we do that end up working do not make any kind of financial sense. Racing being one of those things.
Magazines, quite another.
Yeah. So you look at this stuff, and I want to see some of my contemporaries that I know have a lot of passion. I want to see those guys at the helm. And we're getting way off track of everything right now, but that's the big scope of things, is these guys. And I think this all stems from somebody looking at a balance sheet with accounting, and they go, wait, whoa, we were cutting what check to Vance and Hines? Oh yeah. And we're getting what results?
Yeah.
And man, listen, that was my big question, as the day after the King of the Baggers, from public perception, everyone was talking about how Harley lost to Indian again, and the question of how much longer, as impressive as it is, everything that Vance and Hines was doing for Harley Davidson in the drag racing, in the flat track racing, how much longer was it going to continue on that way?
Yeah, and again, Harley outsells Indian, correct? I mean, over there. Yeah. Okay, so the line of what wins on Sunday sells on Monday, that's out the door. That's got to just, people got to let that go. It's just a line, that party's over. But a lot of times, what these people race, you can't buy that anyway. So all you're buying is the name. And again, like Tyler, you said it. You go to these races, you look out in those parking lots, and what do you see 99.9% of the time? Harleys. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? It's to build the bike for racing. Somebody posted something about the V-Rod. They built the V-Rod for racing. Should build a bike to compete. Is there money to build that bike? You said it before. It's not feasible. Why would you go out of your way?
You look back at what Harley, what their old CEO was doing, and they said, 100 new models and new roads and all that kind of stuff. And I looked at it as, oh, so you're AMF? Where does this stop?
Yeah, right.
And the new CEO comes in, and he's trying to shelve all that, that new Bronx platform. He's trying to to shelve that as fast as they can. And some of these things are too far along to stop. But like you said, Mark, like, where is that development money?
Right.
I mean, that's hundreds of hours of highly paid and highly skilled engineers and machinists and metallurgists and all this kind of stuff.
And then failures.
Yeah, and
keep that in mind.
Yeah, and then it all comes down and why did we do this?
Yeah.
Where's
the profit in it?
Yeah, and we can go back and we can look at the big, the big players in this thing, and that's the new CEO coming in and looking at this money spent. And then you look at the small players, the individual dealerships who, the mothership says, oh yeah, we're going to create contingency and all you got to do is sponsor these guys. But they're tight too. And one of the points that I've got a few talking points here, but one of them is, and I love the current racers. I do. I've been out of it at the pro level for 6 years now. So there's a few guys at the top of the game now that really don't remember me being in the pits every weekend and all that kind of stuff. So, but they kind of take it personal when I bash on how poor some of them have gotten at creating relationships in the pits.
Yeah.
And a lot of these racers coming up, in fact, there's always been like 5 rich guys. And the names change and they come and go, but there's 5 rich guys. And every racer will just cling on to that rich guy until that rich guy, leaves the sport. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. And our sport has become conditioned to that. It's basically find the rich guy.
Yep.
It's not, hey, I'm going to go talk to the owner of the local Harley shop and try to work out a deal with him.
Right.
So, there's going to be, with this new Harley program, number one, you got to find a racer that wants to get on one of those bikes.
Yeah.
In the production class, that thing's competitive. But the Super Twins, nobody's going to get on that bike. It's too much work. It's too much development. Nobody's going to fund that themselves. But you've got to get these racers back conditioned to the way it used to be, where you had personal relationships with dealerships. Joe Kopp had George Slatus.
Yeah, right.
And, Chris Carr for years and years had Randy Texter at Lancaster HD, and you've got to – I really wish, some of these young kids could grab some of these older guys that did it the hard way.
But the dealers are different now. You had said it before. The dealers are so different. That almost doesn't exist anymore because that's what we did. We were friends with the guy at the Harley dealership. Yeah. They really didn't give us anything. And, like, you look at the shops that took these motors before, like Jim at Megaflow, like this guy did it himself. I mean, did he go to Harley and do anything with them at first? I mean, Jim didn't get that information from them. He gave it a shot on his own, Yeah. I mean, that's gone. I mean, there's, like you said, you got to find that rich guy. We never had a rich guy. We had a fast bike. That was what we had. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, but there's that, you had said it before, there's that corporate, there's that conglomerate of people that own the dealerships. Instead of going and pitching your idea to one dude that is into the bikes like you are, into racing like we were, now you got to convince a group of money guys, and they're like, yeah.
Where does the money come from?
Yeah, like you said.
Where does the money come from?
We would have to buy cheap toilet paper and paper towel then. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's sort of sucky.
And think about the parts counter guy, the motor clothes crew, the salesman on that floor when the ownership group says, hey, man, no Christmas party and no bonuses this year, but hey, man, we got 5th.
Yeah.
Last weekend. How about that?
Right.
Oh shit! Wait a bit. That one deserved a sitcom laugh.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I went to a stand-up show last night. I'm ready to rock.
No, but hey, man, listen. Like even crossing over into the drag race end of things. Drag racing has really taken an ass whooping in the Harley world over the last few years, over the last bunch of years.
Yeah.
But for me, like, even though I look like an old graybeard biker, typical panhead guy, all that shit, I love.
Yes, you do.
Look like?
I love all motorcycling, and I don't think anyone was as upset as I was the day that Harley Davidson's semi truck stopped going to Superbike.
Yep.
Not because I mean, they were, for I think 2 seconds, they were serious at all. And the rest of the time it was, luckily not a complete embarrassment. But Harley Davidson being in line with every one of the other manufacturers, it meant something to me. Right. It meant something for them to be there. It was part of the culture. And, again, like someone in the comments here said about how, Harley Davidson built the V-Rod Destroyer for drag racing. They should do the same for flat track. No, they shouldn't.
Yeah, no.
The V-Rod Destroyer, I think, was one of the worst examples because they literally made its own class inside of a racing sanction. It did nothing to perpetuate the spirit or the sport of that.
But sell bikes for Harley.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, it was, and I'm not going to pretend that I know a ton about drag racing, but back in the day, I used to get cycle news in the mail every week, and I would read through that stuff. But yeah, basically Harley was like, "Oh, hey, we want a series where we can go win it every week,
right?
So we'll call it the V-Rod." And thanks for these trophies.
Yeah, thanks for the trophies and the win. And we were, like we had talked about a couple weeks ago. One of the coolest things about us, we were a little tiny race team, and we had a dealer sponsorship, but we were pretty much on our own. The coolest thing for us was when we'd pull into the racetrack with our pickup truck that Harley made it there and an old dirt bike trailer. When we'd pull in, Harley dealers would load their bikes up on their trailer because they didn't want to waste the money, take a chance of breaking the bike or anything because they knew they weren't beating us anyway. So, you know what I mean? Like, the little guy needs to kick it up. Don't give up because Harley's not going to back you up. Just like anything else. You still got to go out there and race. You still got to go do it. You can't let that, where's Waldo? Where's that rich guy at that's going to pay your way? Well, there has to be a backbone in there somewhere,
Tyler, you'd be able to speak on this more than almost anybody because of your history in this. Are we beyond the place where, Chico's Bail Bonds is actually going to be a sponsor to that privateer?
Well, man, honestly, and I do work on the marketing side of things. So I'm looking at ROI too, and sometimes I have to take my heart out of things and use my head for a minute. And the problem right now, and I've discussed this with several business owners, and I even talked to a flat track team owner yesterday about this. The problem right now is when you look at the ROI on a social media paid advertisement, it is cheap, it is effective. I am pushing so much of my company's budget that way that I look at that and I'm like, wait a minute. So this race team or ambassador or something wants, $10,000-$15,000, and you're either with that, you take the chance of somebody not liking that ambassador, somebody not liking that racer, and you've lost them already. Oh, you're sponsoring the wrong guy. It's kind of like arguing about politics or religion. You lose 50% right off the bat. And then, but you look at, hey, I can put out a very creative post, make sure it's on everybody's phone, and tell them where to go buy the product, how to buy the product, or maybe give them a tech tip and be on my merry way. Or I can sponsor a racer that may forget to mention me on the podium.
Yeah, right. See?
So, and this isn't just flat track. This is Supercross. We just watched JGR close their doors in Supercross. Dude, how many Winston Cup titles have they won and they couldn't hack it in motocross? They lost their Suzuki contract. They're done. Factory Yamaha just pulled out and gave their race team to a satellite. That's the most popular motorcycle racing in America. And Joe Gibbs Racing can't keep a team together.
Right.
So I think, and I think you look at NASCAR too. I think at some point M&M's is going to go. There's going to be historical teams that they're always going to have a NASCAR out there, like a Napa Auto Parts or something like that. But you look at when a marketing person sits down, and I didn't go to college for marketing. I literally just kind of learned on my own, worked under some people and kind of learned the ropes. But when you really look at the numbers, man, as much as I love racing, as much as I love to help out racers, man, when you're messing with somebody else's money and your job's on the line to spend it correctly,
shit's tight. Yeah,
man, it's a hard sell.
This is kind of where I agree and disagree with you because I think there's a nugget of discovery to be had here. Because just like bike builders, you know, one of the biggest problems with bike builders is the single worst thing that they do is promote. You know, and it's the same with racers. Racers are so geared towards the racing part that they forget that promotion. Like, and mentioning your sponsor on the podium falls far short of what your responsibilities are in promotion. You know, when you talk about the availability of social media and the cost versus the ROI, it is fantastic, but it's still, there's two sides of that coin. There is regular old retail advertising through social media, and there's experiential marketing. Nothing beats experiential marketing. Nothing speaks to a person about a product that you have to engage in something that they love to do, like you showing them that you love it too. Experiential marketing is hands down the best, and nobody can do that work for your company like the guy that's racing the motorcycle, if he does it. You know what I mean? So I think where we've gotten with this, like even in the case of M&Ms that you're talking about, if the M&M driver, if the race team, if they were so engaged and taking people on that trip, taking them into the pits, working on the car with them, you know, what's he doing on Saturday? You know, if they were doing that and they were really delivering the experiential punch to what they do, I don't think that their future would ever be in question. You know?
Yeah.
You mean M&M drives a race car?
the red one
Yeah,
does.
It's Santa?
Oh shit.
You know, like, you know, and I tried to help a couple of years ago. I tried to help some racers out with their marketing, and I opened it up to anybody that, you know, wanted to send me a resume. I made, you know, like, hey, here's what I want to see from you guys. Submit it. And it's basically, I'm going to be your marketing coach. I'm not going to do any work because I'm busy enough at work, but I'm going to be like your ear. Like, hey, this is what companies like to see. Do it this way, and you'll go a lot further. And I got some really great entries, and I was asking kind of like mid-level. You know, now it's super twins, but you know, guys that are, you know, could be on the box but don't really have any huge help. I said, hey, why didn't you send an entry? And they said, oh, well, you know, I get enough help. I get enough help, and, you know, I wanted it to go to somebody else. And I went, so wait a minute. You mean to tell me if I offered you $500,000, you would say, hey, nah, man, I'm already making 100,000 racing, so I don't need that extra money. I appreciate you, though. Give it to somebody else who needs it.
Get yourself something really nice.
Yeah. They were literally like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, oh, guys, come on, man. Like I've sat here and I've watched a few of these rich guys come and go. You know, some of them would get angry with the sport or angry with racers and bounce. Some of them would literally run out of money. And I'm like, you can't. And then my favorite thing is when somebody gets ready to hang it up in racing. Hey, Tyler, how do I get an industry job like you do? That's what I want to do.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that, right?
I'm like, well, I got my industry job from knowing a racer who was working for a company, and then doing the best I could for
doing your
basically
job.
Free.
Yeah, right.
Until somebody was like, hey, man, you want to work a trade show? And I'm like, yeah, I can stand and yell at people all day. I got that. And then, you know, it parlays itself, and I'm like, guys, we've got to have, you guys have to help yourself a little bit. And like, so it's like, it's basically a world war. We've got the Eastern Front, we've got the Pacific Theater, we've got all these things going on, and it's going to be really, really hard to get everybody to march in step. It can be done, but I think it's going to take a cold splash of water in the face before it all levels out. You know, thankfully, the Vance and Hines crew, Vance and Hines, basically, they're setting up a deal. I can't remember their official name for it right off the bat, but it's basically like Toyota does with TRD, where Vance and Hines is turning their race team guys, which are, man, they are really, really good guys. I know they're busting their ass, and they have for over 10 years. They're basically going to tag them on development projects. And what was interesting in their press release is they said 2 and 4 wheels. And the hottest market in power sports right now is the side-by-side area.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, So that's a good way to parlay some of that racing budget and some of that expertise and knowledge and engineering that you already have on staff. I was very happy to see those guys. I think for the most part, those guys all kept their jobs. So that was a big plus out of it. And like I said, they're still going to be a technical partner for racers to use as well.
But I gotta say, I don't want to put the fly in the ointment all the time, but just to not see that line of motorcycles at the track, you know what I mean? To not see Harley Davidson represented on a nationally televised drag race, like, hopefully someone's gonna step up. But like you said, it's a mountain of money, man. You got to find that rich guy.
Yeah, the biggest hit right now is going to be in the Super Twins class because nobody's going to willingly get on that motorcycle. It's just it's not going to happen right now. They were paying their racers a pretty good salary, and they were working hard, and they were starting to get results. Brian Smith in Indianapolis winning a semi on that thing, like. It was coming around. Jared Vanderkoy had some fantastic rides on it. Dalton Gauthier, I think he was struggling a little bit, but you got to look at his progression, moving from singles champion straight to the twins. There's a learning curve there. Most Super Twins champions, most of them are in the class 10 years before they win a title.
Right.
Briar Bauman kind of reversed that trend, and some of the older guys have as well. But those guys were all working hard, and they're great racers. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're in that Super Twins class, you want to be on an Indian. Now, in production twins, I could see how that's feasible. You find the right enthusiast for $36,000, you can have a race prepped bike, and go racing on the thing. And the thing, it needs a little bit of fine tuning, of course, like anything would, but Vance and Hines has built a great production twins bike, basically out of the box. And, what you've seen Chad Coase be able to do, and James Rispoli this year, took off on it after Corey Texter won the championship on the previous year on the Yamaha. They got that thing kind of rolling. Hayden Gillum stepped in on one of the Vance and Hines bike for a couple of rounds and did okay on it. So in that production twins class, you've got a capable motorcycle. And Harley, I think some people, because it takes the guesswork out of it. You've already got the frame geometry, you've already got a proven package. There's not a whole lot of kind of shade tree engineers, I guess. A couple weeks ago we just lost Babe DeMay, and Babe was he was actually working on an XG platform right up basically until the day he died. He built his own frame, and he was working very, very hard, and he kind of had a couple of racers in mind to get that thing on the track in 2021. And sadly that may not that won't happen obviously with Babe, but I don't think that bike, it may never ever see the track. But we don't have that many people like that in our sport now. So in the production twins class, you can go to Vance and Hines, plop down, almost 4 stacks and have a competitive bike. That's a big shot in the arm, but it does nothing for the Super Twins class. The Super Twins class is going to be where Harley's basically going to have to say, no, we weren't there. Nope, production twins. That's where we've been.
Sorry, nope.
Oh,
man. Don't know what you're talking about.
It's definitely, like I said, it's just sad. Win, lose or draw, you definitely want your team in the game, and for a lot of us, man, we're just wondering what the hell, like even me, to watch the King of the Baggers, and whatever anybody thought about the King of the Baggers, that was an absolute honor to have, American motorcycles once again in the superbike arena, and to watch Harley Davidson just like lap after lap, man, it started slipping, and it was hard. That was a hard one to lose, I bet.
Yeah, but most of us know the history of that. Harley beat itself at its own game because originally that V-Rod motor was supposed to go in the Road Glide. And they did market research, and they did focus groups, and everybody said, hell no, you ain't putting water in my bagger. Ain't going to happen. And then Indian does it, and people are like, holy crap, that thing's awesome. And I'm, like Harley had the opportunity to do this, but even if they would have, who knows if the timing was right? I think Indian has a pretty clear path to being more like to be more like a Triumph type brand, where Indian is allowed to branch out. They don't have the hardcore angry consumer that Harley does.
Well, also, I think part of the reasoning there is Indian's been 30 different people in past 100 years. Harley's been Harley. I mean, not to bash Indian at all, but Indian's reinvented itself 65 times. Come on. You're talking about a company in Harley Davidson that's been Harley Davidson for 100 and how many years?
Cemented in place. It's almost to their own detriment.
Yeah. So every time Indian came out, they had a whole new design group. They had a whole new this, whole new that. They didn't have to reinvent themselves. They remade themselves. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you got to give it. Yeah. You got to give Harley credit for lasting that long, and they're, like you just said, they're supporters. They're a guy that said, "You're not putting water in my bagger." I mean, I get that, but then on top of that, my thing was, "You're not putting bags on my motorcycle." So I know you know what I mean. I know the feeling of the water on that, but
never mind the fact that they were all baggers to begin with.
Right from the get go, right.
Yep.
Funny. The funny thing there is, if you think back, it was at one point Harley Davidson had the opportunity to buy the name Indian.
Yeah.
How would you like to go back in time to that meeting and go,
maybe
you might want to just pony up the money and just buy that shit and either bury it, or you could use that brand and launch every weird motorcycle you want to come up with, because your customers won't be pissed about it.
But then it's been one of the greatest rivalries in American history. I mean, in all reality, that you could have never taken that rivalry away. And the nice part about it is, you see a guy on an Indian, you're riding a bagger broke down, or you're riding a Harley, he's broke down, you're going to stop and help him. Just like anything else. That rivalry is just, your preference. You said it before, Tyler. It's like religion or politics. You know what I mean? You say one thing and the whole room's arguing,
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I think there is a road ahead, but it's not going to be smooth.
No.
I have high hopes for the Vance and Hines crew, because, man, they've got some guys on that team that I have had some interaction with. I've ridden some of the motorcycles that they built before they went to Vance and Hines. They know how to make horsepower. They know the right kind of horsepower. I think the rule book kind of limits some of the things they need to do to be truly competitive. So I'm excited that they're still here. But man, we gotta tune up our racers to go talk to those dealers. We gotta tune up the dealers to, I don't know how in the world you're gonna tell an auto salesman that going flat track racing is gonna help his bottom line, but we gotta figure that out real quick.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make this statement right here in public, and I'll follow this up with some paperwork after the fact, but I would love for you to bring either Terry Vance or someone from his establishment onto the show and tell us what comes next for Vance and Hines. I would love to have that interview.
Yeah, I mean, and it was funny, the employee that I was trying to fish for information from, when he kind of figured out where I was going with the stuff, because we're friends, he'll tell me some stuff, but when I kept grilling him, he knew I was up to something, and he said, "You'll have to talk to Terry."
Yeah. Well, listen, we'll definitely extend the invitation. In the meantime, not only do I want to thank you for being here tonight, but I want to thank you for your contribution. If you guys are not aware, every month in Cycle Source magazine, Tyler pens the InSlide Line. He gives us a real nice trackside, down home approach to racing, the sport, the people. It's been a great part of the magazine for, God, it's been like a year now, right?
No, Chris.
More than that.
We're on year 3.
3. Get the hell out of here.
It's a solid 2.5.
Real nice, Tyler. He really loves you a lot. He only thought it was a year.
Yeah. Employee of the month over here.
2020's been rough on Chris here. I'm telling you right now.
Be
So
good to Tyler. Tyler always turns.
he's
in
on time. I know.
on
And you know
time.
something
He
else
does
about
a great
Tyler?
job.
Whether anybody agrees with it or not, the dude stands his freaking ground, man.
I
You
know.
got to give him all the credit in the world. You know, you don't always see it eye to eye, but he knows where he stands, and he doesn't let anybody wreck him on
When
that.
he shows up at the hardcore bike event with that fluorescent
Yeah.
tube top,
Right?
like nobody sticks to his guns like Tyler.
I told you guys not to talk about that.
Dude, it was good shit.
I don't remember that at all. That guy, everybody listening, it never happened. It never happened. I'm a very dedicated professional. No, I appreciate you guys having me on, and sometimes it is a little tough because you got to step on some toes, and you
do.
You got to crush the grape to make wine, kind of thing. And I try to, in the InSlide Line, honestly, I kind of gear it to the more casual fan, somebody that maybe just started watching racing, paying attention to flat track, in the last 5-year span. I try not to get too in depth with stuff because that just leads me down a road of possibly being really wrong about something. So, but no, it's great to get on here and kind of dig a little deeper into stuff and kind of let people know that there are bigger things at play than just Harley's quitting, Harley's giving up.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in this little rat race we've got.
It's a big old world, man. I mean, at the beginning of the show tonight, we talked about the news of Komodo buying up some more real estate, and I really hope, for the sake of motorcycling, for the spirit and the soul of it, that we don't forget that this isn't all about numbers. Because you lose track of the foundation. There's a lot of other things to do in the world today than motorcycling. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to mean more. It's got to be more than the bottom line all the time. I mean, everybody has to make a profit, but
yeah. And one of the things I get really concerned about is somebody looks at the numbers in power sports for 2020, like these investment banker types, and they look at the numbers. They go, "Guys, we're missing a huge opportunity here," and it's like, no.
Yeah.
You cannot look at a 2020 number and see how successful we've been and think that that's the true state of our industry, because people couldn't go to concerts, they couldn't go to resorts, they couldn't go to theme parks, and they went, wait a minute, I do have a motorcycle, it needs a few parts, and man, I hope this momentum carries on. Where I work, we're kind of we're hoping to ride the wave through 2021, but we're certainly looking at 2022 like we're back to 2018 kind of thing. And I just hope that we put more butts in seats at flat track races. And to everybody listening, one of the things I really want to put out there, AFT does a great job. They're getting a lot better with their live stream and their gold pass. It's like $11 for the freaking year. You can't put gas in your car to go somewhere for $11. So if you can't get to a national, support that, buy that. It's great to have friends over and watch. But more importantly, find your local flat track racetrack. Like in a lot of states like Illinois and Wisconsin, Ohio, they have motorcycle clubs. Find that motorcycle club. Go tailgate with your buddies on a Friday night. Go, pack a cooler if they allow that. Go support their concession stand. I promise you the burgers will get better if you keep buying.
Maybe there will
honestly,
be meat
guys,
one day.
Yeah, like the more you support that grassroots, you're going to find a kid on an 80 that you're like, man, I like that kid. I like that kid's style. And then they're going to get up on 250s and 450s, and you're going to build a route in the sport for yourself.
And again, that's where it started.
Yes, sir.
And man, I'm telling you, some of those fairground racetracks, I know it's going to be a long night, but if you're going to sit through a 4-hour high school football game, you can go ride your Harley or sit on your tailgate and watch kids on PW50s all the way up to 50 and 60-year-old guys. You're going to be entertained.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
You're probably going to shit talk
that
with
was
your
one of
buddies.
my
Maybe
favorite
Those
nights in
kids,
Sturgis.
man. Yeah, those kids kill it.
Yeah, so,
When I
throw
was
down
with-
dollar bets with your buddies.
Yep. That was one of my favorite nights in Sturgis. Chris and I went out to the Jack Pine Gypsies flat track. We had so much fun watching every class, right down to the 3-year-olds.
Oh yeah,
That
them
was
little
my
kids are
absolute
Hey,
hot.
and listen, there's nothing better than here in the Rust Belt. I'm not sure what it's like in other parts of the country, but the tri-state area of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, we are unashamedly hillbilly as
yeah.
F, right?
Hey man,
So-
you guys still sell beer in gallon jugs,
Right,
at Hillclimb.
right.
I apologize
There,
for
there,
that.
there is no racing as serious as the farm boy class at
Yep.
the end of the night.
Yep.
You get a guy in a purpose-built flannel shirt with work boots on, giving it hell out on a dirt track.
right.
There's nothing. I don't listen. He wants a win.
Yeah.
Period.
You look at that grassroots racing. Hooligan racing revolutionized our entire sport. That
Yep.
started as a halftime show at Costa Mesa Speedway.
Yeah.
No
And the,
shit.
the RSD crew started going to the speedway races, and the guys were putting down their beers, grabbing their softail, and going out and racing. And the RSD guys go, "Wait a minute, we got a fleet of Sportsters. We're going to come out and try this." And from that, this whole ecosystem of
Yeah.
flat track racing, all of this adrenaline that's been pumped into our sport while we were on life support was because of this grassroots stuff. So
Yep.
I beg you guys listening, go out, find your local flat track races, pay that $15 gate fee, sit there, take some bug spray. You're probably going to need it. But man, I'm telling you, that's how we build. That's how we fix a lot of these problems, because if you're the guy that goes and hangs out at your Harley shop, at your local Harley shop on the weekends, and you go, "Hey man, a bunch of us are riding over to the flat track race tonight," then that dealer goes, "Wait a minute, my customer base goes over to the flat track?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Amen.
Man, and it's tiny, and I know you don't think you're making a big difference by going to a local race. You are.
You are. Yeah,
So,
right.
Absolutely.
I plead with you to do that.
And the other thing about it is, you go and watch these guys, these small races and the young kids racing, and that's where it's at. You watch the heart that these people put into this, whether it's, the dirt bikes or flat track or hill climbs or, God, stock cars, dirt track, anything like that. You'll not have a better time than going and watching these amateurs. They give it their all. And if you watch the young guys, you keep your eye on some of these guys that have it going on. That's the next big guy you watch at the flat
absolutely.
track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You support those little places. And like you said, go eat the bad hamburger, whatever. Bring your gallon jug for your beer. But just go. You know what I mean? You got to just go do it.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah.
perfect example is like Heather said, Jack Pine Gypsy events were some of our favorite shit in Sturgis
Yep.
this year. And for 460,000 people that were in Sturgis, the attendance was okay. It could have been way better than that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Right.
For the fact that they almost every night they had a different form of racing over there. Man,
Well, and I think
start
that's
taking the
something
time. Start taking the time to do that shit.
And
Yeah.
I think that's something that Chris, you and I and Tyler, we need to make a conscious effort to make more people aware, because Jack Pine Gypsies are known for their racing. They're not known for their marketing.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
not easy. It's not easy
Yeah.
to find that information, and it's such a shame because they have phenomenal events every
They
single
do.
day.
They're cool. Every
Yeah.
night, something
Yeah.
different.
And, just a little background, like when I had a website, it was called fightfordirttrack.com. I ran it for 10 years. And the name InSlide Line that, we use for the article now, that came from my Friday morning weekly update. And at the bottom of every week, I posted, I would plead with racing organizations, clubs, send me your race schedule. And I would go through the race schedules and I would post where to race for the next 2 weeks, where the races were. And that's very hard to do in a magazine because of, just the timeline of everything. We're always
We can
a
do it
couple
on
of
our
months.
website, though.
Yep.
Right. But if you don't know where the races are, almost every flat track race is AMA sanctioned. Find out what AMA district you live in. They have a website. Go to that AMA district website. You can find where the races are because they're posted. I promise you that.
Yep.
What are you guys, District 5?
We're 5 over here, yo.
Five, bitches.
5
Oh,
for
yeah.
life.
Oh, you Pennsylvania guys. Yeah, I think, I can't remember, like this is how bad it is. I grew up in Kentucky, and there wasn't a lot of flat track racing in Kentucky, when I was growing up. So I always went to good old District 17 in Central Illinois.
Yeah,
That was where I hung out.
Well, I don't want to lay claim to fame to too much for Pennsylvania. We're awful proud of our accomplishments over here because they don't come all the time. But District 5 was the beginning of a little thing called Racer X.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and District 5 got
so
a
District
lot of
17, District 5's coming over.
Hey, don't mess. Hey, listen, I'm from Kentucky. I am not a FBI member, a fast boy from Illinois. I wasn't even fast, but I'm telling you, the fast boys from Illinois, I don't know. They might have something to say about that.
That's right. Oh, right on, man. Well, listen, thanks again so much for coming on and making us all a little smarter, giving us some education. I would love to do this more with you, though, because seriously, man, like, you know, what you bring to the table, it extends our reach. It's important that we do this work, that we keep people excited about, you know, all ends of motorcycling right now, both for, you know, what we both do for a living and for the thing itself to continue on. So, you know, let's do this more often.
You know, I'm pretty free on Sunday afternoons. You just got to give me a heads up. Now I know that you send the link to my email and a text message. Super good there. But, Chris, you know, the big news, you know this because we talked all week about it, but I got a lathe now, so I don't know. I'm going to be making chips.
Did you hear that, Mark? You hear what he got?
Yeah, I'm coming to your house and lighting your garage on fire, too.
Dude, I have ruined so many pieces of metal in my basement this week, and I'm happy to do it. I told my girlfriend, I think I'm going to go do this interview in the basement and just have something on the lathe just spinning the whole time. How's it going?
That's my lathe. That's my lathe.
Yeah, that's my lathe. But I don't really know how to use it, but by God, I got one. So.
Well, and you know, man, that was kind of the inspiration for we're starting this series, was you and I having conversation on the phone about, you know, what about this, what's that, and you know, I started digging up some stuff to give you.
This is your fault, Tyler.
Well, you know, I'll take the blame here, but see, Chris and I, a lot of people don't know this. Chris and I are really the same person. You know, we both have a lathe now. We both have a significant other named Heather. Yeah. I mean, we're really on the same path. Now, Heather, I don't know if Chris has showed you YouTube machining videos, but I know my Heather is really tired of them.
Tell them, Heather.
Yeah, actually, not only the videos, but I had to go out into the shop the other day and learn how to drill and tap.
Oh, well, that's a very important skill.
How hot is that?
What I'm having to learn is now, you know, Heather, my girlfriend Heather, she doesn't live with me, but she comes over quite a bit and all this kind of stuff. What I've had to learn was a broom. A broom is very important because she will come down to the shop without shoes on. And
nope.
That's
well, you see, Heather lives here and she knows better than to walk around anything Chris works on because he doesn't clean anything up.
Oh, here we go again.
Oh boy! You know, hey, kick the hornet's nest. Great talking to you guys.
You know, Tyler. Jesus Christ Himself only had to hang on the cross.
Let me give you some advice, Tyler. Get her some hard-soled slippers that she can slip on when she go down there, and get her own work gloves. Couple pairs, leave them there.
You know what she told me last week?
Oh boy.
She said I needed to wear I don't know, I've never heard of, they're called safety glasses?
They're so overrated.
I don't know.
I do recommend that. Chris wears his old guy glasses, so he gets away without the safety glasses.
Yeah, but that's because he can't see.
One trip to the ER to get a metal shaving out of your eye.
Yeah.
Oh. I have safety contacts.
Oh, so, there you go.
No.
Safety contacts.
Good point.
Yep. I have
so in your shop, hard-soled slippers, work gloves for Heather. Make sure you keep a magnifying glass, a flashlight, and a pair of tweezers handy because more than once you're going to be like, Heather, can you pull this piece of metal out of my finger?
And she told you, no, you're going to shoot your eye out, kid.
Well, you know, and a lot of things I read about this machine shop equipment is no loose fitting clothing. So pants aren't, I don't have to wear pants.
Yeah, they're
anymore.
optional.
That's been good.
Oh, and someone, David Crum just brought up no gloves. You know, Heather said to me the other day, I was running a drill press and she said, why don't you at least have, you know, the rubber gloves on to keep your hands clean? I'm like, because I want to keep my hands attached to my arms, you know.
Pull you
And
right
the
on
only
in.
reason I said that was because you had just finished saying, "Can you pull this piece of metal out of my finger?"
Yeah, gloves and spinning machinery don't go together.
Nope. And this
No,
is
but
this is the
for
thing.
Heather, they should be, because the last thing she wants to do is lean on something while she's
Oh, yeah.
watching Tyler do his.
Well, she
craft
falls asleep watching
and get
Tyler
metal
play with
shavings.
his lathe.
Yeah,
Poor girl.
I'm not gonna get that serious with it. It's just an ornament right now.
Right on. Well, cool, man. Listen, again, thank you for coming on, and we hope to do this with you again real soon.
Always happy to be on. Thanks for having me, and I'll talk to everybody soon. Hopefully, not too many hateful comments for me gibbering and jabbering all night.
It was actually
No,
all
you're
supportive,
great.
man.
Yeah.
Really was.
Oh, good. I owe those people a lot of money.
There was a Heather that posted a few shitty things though about about some guy in his lathe.
And now now I understand.
Hey, I overcooked some chocolate chip cookies tonight for her, so with love.
Oh,
With love,
boy.
I overcooked those.
Wait,
bad
did
boys.
you overcook them because you were too busy spinning something on your lathe?
No. Like I haven't gone down to the basement. We kind of went on a little weekend vacation, and we just got back this afternoon. So I kind of opened the door and said hi to the lathe, but I came on upstairs. That'll be tomorrow night's project.
Right
So
on.
you guys both just got an invitation from David Crum in New Jersey. He says, "Come to New Jersey and we'll do a machine shop class."
Hey, man, I'll come up with the truck and we'll shoot it. We'll shoot it for Grease and Gears Garage. I'm totally down for that. I'm totally down
what
for
we
it.
call it, like Dumb and Dumber in the machine shop.
Right?
Accident waiting to happen in the machine
Machine
shop.
shop for dummies.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's like, I kind of like the carpentry rules, like, close enough, and all this machinist stuff's about tolerance, measuring. I just want to make some damn chips.
That's awesome. Right now, there's 25,000 machinists that just fell off of their chair watching this, going, "Oh, good God!"
Yeah. I'm like, I was talking to a machinist buddy of mine, and I go, I got these end mills, but I really think I'm just going to get the hog end mills because I'm just rough cutting.
Yeah,
Just
right.
rough cutting. Come on.
Not rocket science.
Right on.
No.
Not like I'm going to ride this thing or anything.
All right. Well, listen, that's it. Check him out every month in Cycle Source Magazine. You can actually follow his entire compendium of work from the InSlide Line during the nearly 3 years in Cycle Source Magazine on our website at cyclesource.com. It's all been indexed there. Search them out. Some great stuff all the time. Tyler, thanks again, man.
Happy anniversary, boss. I appreciate it.
All right,
First
man.
anniversary.
You bastards. There. All right. So, man, great talk, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's good shit.
Awesome.
Tyler's
to-
always a good
He
conversation.
really is.
It's always fun,
And I
that's
have
for
to
sure.
say, Mark, you hit it on the head. No matter what, Tyler sticks to what he believes
yeah.
and what he feels.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid to say it.
Nope.
And that's so refreshing.
It is. That's
today's
why
world
he's
because-
always fun, and he's just a real
Yeah.
person
Hey,
to talk with.
I like when he used to call up and tell us about reading the editorial and go, you make me so mad with your editorial
You're not my
sometimes.
dad."
You're not my real dad. Oh, Jesus. All right, man. Hey, listen, a couple things we want to go over with you guys real quick. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm going to remind you one more time that we are doing a little show here called Shop Talk. It comes to you every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 50 floors below the street level at Cycle Source Magazine headquarters from the Dennis Kirk Motorcycle Studio. Dennis Kirk, their motto, "We ship today." You can see it right up there. We ship today. And if you're last minute like me, that shit's important because you need your chopper fix. They'll hook you up. Oh man, there's been so many comments and stuff tonight. You guys have been awesome. Few events coming up that we want to talk about. Obviously, first and foremost, and coming up real quick, is the Wheels of Steel, Central Florida Wheels of Steel, December 5th and 6th. You can see some, most, or maybe all of us during the Wheels of Steel event. We're going to have the Cycle Source Mobile Studio, be doing some interviews down there with the builders. Also going to be in the house with Flat Broke Chops and Rods. Very soon here, you're going to want to get to twistedtea.com. Sign up for your last couple chances to twist up your ride and win the Twisted T Dozer from this year. Make sure you check it out. Get in on that. And
Still one of my favorite motorcycles.
While we're doing a little plug, I have to put this out there. This month we got to feature the T Dozer in Cycle Source magazine. And there was an ad in there for Flat Broke Chops and Rods, me and Mark. And in that, you can see two of our new products, the Hellraiser shifter and oil tank. There it is right there.
And no, you can't hide alcohol in it. I mean, you can give it a shot, but...
And you can see in this particular ad, there are zeros in place of the prices because we pulled the wrong ad before we went to show prep. So that they're not actually free, but it's a reasonable amount of money for a good product. So go check it out. Lots of stuff coming up. Hopefully, we'll have some events to talk about here real soon because
fingers crossed.
Damn.
Fingers crossed.
Everybody needs to get out of the house, right? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Raise your hand.
So, if you guys do like Shop Talk and you like listening to Chris, Mark, and myself yabber on, please like and share. That's the best way you can support us to keep this show going. Just go to the little corner, hit like, hit share. We sure would appreciate that support from y'all.
And make sure up in the top right-hand corner of the screen right there that you support everybody that you see on that logo roll, because in one way or another, they help make this happen. They're helping us keep that programming going. I want to give a big thanks to Tyler for coming on, part of the magazine staff, Mark for being here week after week and helping us do this, always bringing a great perspective to the stuff that we do. And that's probably going to be it for this week, huh? We got to all the news.
I think
Let me see. Go through my checklist.
We picked on everybody we possibly could.
Did I talk about my lathe?
Yeah, we've heard about your lathe.
Should I say it one more
I'm
time?
I'm trying to figure out a way I'm getting out of this house without going into that garage. We need,
You're coming to the
an
garage.
escape hatch from the
You're-
50
Mark.
floors
You're
down.
coming to the garage.
Heather, do you have something in the kitchen you want to show me?
Yes, I made muffins today. You can come have a muffin.
So let me get this right. You're going into the kitchen to look at my wife's muffin.
Hell yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, boy.
Bye, man.
You are literally within striking distance.
I
You do
know.
realize
It's
that,
not
right?
worth it, Heather. I'd rather enjoy one of your muffins.
We're all in trouble now. All right, man. Hey, listen, until the next time we all get together, thanks for letting us into your headspace for a little bit and supporting the crazy shit that goes on over here in the motorcycle universe. Until next week when we come back, same chopper time.
Same chopper channel.
Bye, Felicia.